Hello, this is Mr. David, the Program Director at First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Palm Beaches. I am the Children and Youth Faith Development Program Director, and I'm here on another Sunday morning with a time for all ages during our service. Today's story I'm going to share is called Strength in Unity. It's a Panchatantra Indian story from the book we've been using for our summer story times, Ancient Stories for Modern Times. There are lots of great stories in here, and I'm happy to share another one. Today's service asks questions of us. Our speaker, Karen, is asking us, how do you feel called to respond in this time of societal change and deep change amongst all of us? How do each of us feel called to respond to the issues that are affecting our lives and affecting others' lives? How can we help each other? And what support do you need, either as a person individually or as a congregation or as a family? What support do we need to move forward? So the story today speaks to some of those questions and may give us some answers. As lately, I've been very fascinated with birds. So today's story is about birds. This flock here is the image of birds moving as one through the sky. So you'll see in this story how that comes into play. So our story this morning, Strength in Unity. A dark cloud of worry spread through the forest. No longer were the hunters satisfied with capturing birds in their snares one at a time. They had developed a new technology. They were taking long strands of fiber, crisscrossing them, one strand over another, and tying the strands fast at those intersections. Of course, they were making nets. Now, instead of capturing a single bird, they could capture a handful, a dozen, or hundreds of them all at once. The birds that escaped this new invention were frightened. What could they do? Some birds lost all hope. It's pointless, they peeped with feeble voices. There's no way we can escape this horror. We might as well give up right now. Others got busy, building up their muscle strength and sharpening their bills. If I get caught, boasted those birds, I'll be able to cut my way free. I'll be strong enough to fly away. It was encouraging to hear hope, but not all of the birds liked the brazen approach of the strong birds. Some of the birds said, "If I escape while others die, my life will be filled with unhappiness." A meeting was called. The birds talked back and forth. Call, call, call! Tiwee, tiwoo! Chickadee! Cuckoo, cuckoo! At last the birds had a plan. And sure enough, it wasn't long before they had a chance to test it. Peep, peep. Many birds heard the call, a call of distress. Who was it? Birds of all shape and size flew toward the sound. They landed on the branches of a big tree. But where was the injured bird? They couldn't see it. Suddenly, they were trapped beneath a net. It was a trick, and now they could barely move. Some of the birds panicked and cried out, but others remained calm. Soon, a whisper ran through the flock of birds that had been caught. Take a deep breath. Remember our plan. When the king of birds sings, let us all flap our wings. The whisper was repeated, and it soon resounded from one end of the net to the other. Take a deep breath. Remember our plan. When the king of birds sings, let us flap our wings. The birds breathed in. The king whistled a plaintive note. Ooh. The birds began to flap their wings. It was hard work. When it began to feel impossible for some of the birds, they looked over at their neighbors, who were also hard at work, and felt encouraged. They continued to flap their wings. Suddenly, they lifted right out of that tree. They rose higher and higher into the sky, carrying the net with them. The king whistled a plaintive note once more. Ooh. The birds tilted their bodies to the side in unison, as though they were one. The net slid off their backs and dropped to the ground. After that, A new melody could be heard in the forest. There's strength in unity. There's strength in unity. There's strength in unity. That is the story of how the birds met their worst fears. It is also the story of how we can meet ours.